Hello there, I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, the city is full of stories and song as we near the Christmas holiday. This is our Vancouver. Coming up, supply chain issues have you worried? Well, we have local gift suggestions. And resuming tradition. Chor Leoni is set to perform in person. But first, the gift of a retelling of our city's salty history in a new book. Now, if you're looking for a local gift for maybe a reader or a history buff on your list, how about delving into the little-known, gritty history of our city's West End? Well, Vancouver author Aaron Chapman's latest book is called Vancouver Vice. Aaron, hello there.
Great to be with you, Gloria.
Well, great to see you too, and I've got a copy of your book right here. And this is interesting. As you look into our city's history, why did you want to focus on the West End this time?
Well, I think I did a book called The Last Gang in Town a couple of years back that dealt with sort of East Vancouver, and I thought let's move up. It was somewhat interesting to view a neighborhood through the lens of some of its crime history, I thought. And I thought onto that afterwards, it would be interesting to maybe tackle the West End and a period of the West End that most Vancouverites may have sort of largely put so far in the past that they may have completely forgotten about it. If you've been living in Vancouver for the last 20, 30 years or something, you may not have any knowledge of it at all. Or if you lived through those times then, throughout the 70s and early 80s, it was a different time in the West End altogether. So it's funny how if you walk through the West End today, there's no hint of some of the turbulence of those years. So I thought it might be an interesting time to view that through the lens of what I do.
Okay, you've piqued our interest with the talk of turbulence in the West End. What is it that a lot of people you think don't know about West End's history?
Well, you know, of course, the West End today is a very different place. As I say, if you walk through it today, it doesn't really give a hint towards its past. More so maybe than other areas of the city in that regard, I thought. In the 70s and early 80s, there was a boon of a street prostitution problem that was happening in the West End. And it really sort of put the neighborhood in a bit of a civil war at each other as some people, neighbors sort of faced off against some of the sex workers. And that's what we remember mostly of those years. But there was also what seems to be sort of forgotten in the mix of that. There was a whole crime wave that sort of happened in the West End at those times. In 1982, there were more murders in the West End than there were in the downtown East Side. There was also the police at the time were dealing with drugs and gambling and all these other things that was sort of that was all happening in the West End then. So it's interesting to look back through those years and see, you know, how the neighborhood has changed, but also to interview and hear some of the stories of the people that worked on all sides of things, be it the sex workers, some of the Vice Squad police, and hear sort of for the first time some stories and reveal a West End that we maybe didn't know so much about before.
Yeah, okay. So beyond the sex workers memorial that remains in the West End, any other remnants or something that could tell us that things have actually changed there?
Well, the interesting thing is there are certainly things left over from those days. The street barricades. Everybody knows driving down the West End can be a little bit of a weird experience depending on where you want to go or some of the left-hand turns you can't do or anything like this. And that's because 40 years ago, just this past month, in November of 1981, a number of street barricades were put in. Now, they were pretty rudimentary, sort of wooden barricades just locked into place back then. At the time, neighbors complained that their access to their streets were cut off, and even the fire department said it's going to be difficult for us to get to a fire in some cases. Ostensibly, the city announced they were being put in to curb the street prostitution problem that was happening. But in reality, it had been decided a few years before that they were going to be putting in as street calming measures. But they're left over today that if you were to say, well, you know, we don't have the street prostitution issue anymore in the West End, we should remove these, there'd probably be a hue and cry because to leave them because neighbors have gotten used to them now. And now they've turned into little parklets and there's sort of curbs that allow, you know, bicycle riders and pedestrians to get through. But
Yeah.
the real there is, or ostensibly what the city called said the real reason they were there goes back 40 years ago.
Well, I didn't know that. And it can be frustrating if you're on the wrong street trying to get somewhere across the West End sometimes because there's one-way streets and turnarounds and all that kind of thing. Now you mentioned some high-profile murders in the area. Can you give us a little bit of some details about one of them?
Well, one of the most interesting things is in May of 1984, there was the book starts off with a story about how police respond to a body that was found in the trunk of a car. It was left in Stanley Park. No, nothing more Vancouver than that. So it's a murder in Lost Lagoon, as the chapter goes. And but what the police begin to investigate and who that person was, and it's sort of, I don't want to give that away because it's a little bit of a spoiler, I suppose, connects to a whole world of an underground prostitution network that involves what police sort of later believe some fairly well-known people in the city at the time. Scandalous in its own way, but there wasn't just that. Some of the other there were some really high-profile murders of just everyday pedestrian or everyday people in the West End. It also gave great concern that when people started to question about that had police lost control of the neighborhood, or what was the safety, urban safety, or at night. Some of the same questions, interestingly, we're talking about today, in terms of a lot of people are fearing in Vancouver these days about going out at night or going out alone at night. Where we were asking these same questions in the West End, 30, 40 years ago.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? How would you say the overall character of the West End has changed?
Well, in many ways, as much as the neighborhood's changed from those years, there's something about it. If you walk through the West End, much of it hasn't. If you walk up and down Davie Street, some of the businesses have changed along the storefronts and whatnot, but those stores are still the buildings are still there, the same dimensions of those buildings. So it hasn't changed in many ways. Davie Street hasn't changed in that much. But the book also sort of documents how the rise of the gayborhood, quote unquote, has happened as well. That at the time, 40 years ago, there was a lot more controversy. There weren't rainbow sidewalks or intersections back then. We've come a long way from those years in that regard, too. So it's interesting how some things have changed and some things haven't changed at all.
Aaron, it's obvious that you love this city and its complicated history as well. So what keeps you writing these history books?
I think, I'm born and raised in Vancouver, and that probably helps because my memories of the city go back to when I was a kid. And even though when some of these stories happened in the West End, I was a rather young lad in town. I remember at the time the controversy about it, the evening news stories that were constantly about it at that time. And when I was talking to people, when I was doing research for the book and talking to people what I was working on, a lot of people had no idea. More recent people who had moved to Vancouver or immigrated to Vancouver. So I thought there's something kind of lost here that would be interesting to investigate, because in many ways, even though this was a time that was a turbulent time, and when the West End had its own underbelly, if you will, these things sort of make up the DNA of the city in a regard, and that's sort of how we got here. And I keep doing it because there's so many more fascinating stories about Vancouver that are yet to explore. I always think of maybe writing another book or maybe doing a novel or something, but I keep going back to the history of the city because it's so fascinating to me.
Well, thank you very much for keeping it all alive for us here. Crime and spectacle in the city's West End. Great to touch base with you, Aaron.
Thank you, Gloria.
We do have a couple of copies of Vancouver Vice to give away. To enter to win one of them, email ourvancouver@cbc.ca. That's ourvancouver@cbc.ca, and just put book giveaway in the subject line. Good luck.
I'm Beck.
I'm Cam, and this is Our Vancouver.
Okay, now it's time for one of our favorite features. This is where we get to showcase a number of the photographs that are sent in by you, our audience. Let's start with this one. Benjamin Toe was out for a walk in Lynn Canyon Park and took in this beautiful scene. Thank you so much. And Omid Shariat was at Steveston Harbor at a serene time of day. Just great composition with that boat in mind, Aaron. Love that. And finally, Wian van Jaarsveld was at Lafarge Lake in Coquitlam. Lights at Lafarge is back on this year, and wow, it looks so festive. Thank you. And do send us more. It's easy. Just email your favorite shots to us at bcphotos@cbc.ca. That's bcphotos@cbc.ca. Now, with the effects of climate change on the minds of so many British Columbians right now and the holiday season here, are there ways to be more environmentally friendly when you're giving gifts this year? Well, Austin Fritz is active online. She's an influencer who has tips on giving sustainably.
Hi, I'm Austin. I'm a fashion and lifestyle creator from Kelowna, and I'm feeling really inspired about the holidays because I'm doing things a little differently this year. I typically stress over buying so many gifts and the environmental impact of overconsumption and gift wrapping, not to mention the financial stress. I don't think I'm alone in this feeling, so I thought, how can I take back the nostalgic and simple feel surrounding this holiday season while still showing appreciation to my loved ones and the planet? Here are my tips for sustainable gift giving and gift wrapping. One of my favorite ways to reduce waste is to purchase secondhand at the thrift store. So this year I'm also going to be purchasing secondhand gifts. I really hope that this can become the new norm because pre-loved items can be just as thoughtful, and with a little bit of TLC, they can be just as good as new. I have this black handbag that my younger sister always compliments me on, and I decided that it's finally time to pass it on to her. I'm wrapping her gift in brown paper, which is 100% recyclable, unlike foiled paper. I would have loved a more eco-friendly tape option, but the most sustainable thing to do is use what I already have at home, which happens to be this clear tape. Homemade gifts are another creative and festive way of gifting, but if you're not crafty yourself, or maybe you don't have enough time to make something, buying from a local creator is a great way to gift sustainably, and you're also supporting someone in your community. I'm wrapping this locally made candle in this silk scarf that I found at the thrift store. It's a great option because not only does it look luxurious, but you're also providing the recipient with a secondary gift, or they can choose to use it as a sustainable gift wrap for the next gift that they give. Another great gift wrapping option is to use an old newspaper like this one. I'm going to use it to wrap the sweatshirt that I purchased at the thrift store. Sometimes pre-loved treasures need a little love and care to revive them, like this sweater, which I'm fixing up with this tool that gets all of the fabric fuzz and pilling off. I love to add festive touches like this twine, dried orange slice, and fresh rosemary from the garden, but I also love lavender and eucalyptus because they're both beautiful and fragrant. Organic garnishes like these are great because they can be composted later on after the gift has been given. I really enjoyed practicing sustainability this holiday season, and I'm so happy that all my gifts came from the heart and that I spent time to wrap them in their own unique ways. I'm so grateful knowing that all there's left to do is celebrate the simple joys with the people I care most about without the worry of environmental impact.
Now, I'm sure that shopping is still top of mind for many of you who celebrate Christmas. And if supply chain issues have you worried, why not think of buying local products? Now, it has been too long since we have connected with Karla Dreyer. She's an interior designer and an amazing gift finder. Hello there, old friend.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing so well. How have you been holding up?
I'm good. I like being called a gift finder. I'm going to add that to like my business card.
Well, I miss the days where we could set everything up here in studio, but thank you for laying it all out for us. What have you got for us in terms of gift suggestions?
Okay, well, I love it. What I've done is source locally. I think this is the year to shop local. And what I was so inspired of, all of these brands and companies are really purpose driven. So either they're using sustainability, they're giving back, there's a bigger mission to it. So I feel like when you purchase from any one of these companies, you're going to feel like you're not only giving something great, but you're also doing something to help our world. So I will start with kids. Now this is a company called Little Booty, and it's meditation cushions for kids. And I just thought this was fantastic. It's a company, Mala Collective, who makes meditation products for adults, and now they're doing it for kids. So there's like a sloth meditation cushion here. There's a cloud meditation cushion. My 10-year-old loved the sloth. And I think it's just a fun thing to, I know I'm doing this with my daughters lately. My oldest started high school, and kind of just teaching her to breathe and relax. And I think like introducing kids to these mindful tools is really important.
What do you do? Do you sit on the cushion?
You sit it, yeah, you sit on it.
What do you do?
Well, it's supposed to be sitting on it, so it's like a meditation cushion you sit on. That being said, my 10-year-old was like, I love this. I just want to cuddle in it. And my 13-year-old, the same thing. She's like, oh, can I have this? I just want to like bring it to bed and cuddle with it. But if there was a meaning of mindfulness, whatever we can do as parents to help out is a good thing.
I like that. Just breathe. Just breathe
Just
through it. We're going to get
breathe.
through it. Okay, I like that.
Great for nieces and nephews and family friends. The second company is a company called Poppy Barley, female founded. Two gals that make beautiful bags and shoes, but they've also ventured into kind of homeware. And so what I thought this was a great gift is they're making their games. So this is like a checkers game and this is a backgammon game, but it's made of this recycled leather. So I thought for a design perspective, it looks so beautiful on a coffee table, but also something you would actually keep. So I thought this is great to, like, I don't know, give you the person who you're not sure what to give to, like your boss or someone you work with, or I just thought this was a really pretty
that's
item.
A keeper.
Yeah,
it's a keeper.
It's a keeper.
Now, you were looking at those shoes. Those are their shoes as well. Those look like a house shoe that you slip on. Or
yes, it's called a camper shoe. Which is really like my husband's been into these kind of shoes for years, and now I'm going on the trend where they're kind of those indoor outdoor where they've got the sole to go indoor outdoor, but they look kind of cute as well, right? So you're not wearing a total slipper, and that seems to be a really hot thing right now. So they also make beautiful shoes and bags.
Lovely. Wow, they're really covering the bases there with the homeware, the games, the shoes, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
What else have you got for us?
Okay, so this is like my version of the gift basket. It's a company called To Live For Bakery. Erin Ireland, who's got this great vegan bakery, has teamed up with Plant Curious, and they're shipping these boxes. They ship them throughout Canada, but it's all filled with companies that are Vancouver-based. So like this local barbecue sauce, some rum balls here, a tea. We've got a hot sauce, some shortbread. What else have we got in here? We've got chocolate bars, but again, all of these are small batch made, local Vancouver companies, and they've kind of put their favorites all together in one box that you can give to someone. So it's, again, giving back. You're supporting local and supporting these brands, and also finding some new things you could love to eat.
And you know what? And for someone who has left the Vancouver area and you want to send it to them, maybe they're in the interior or another part of the country.
Yes.
It's a little bit of literally a taste of Vancouver that you can bring them over the holidays too. I
love that.
I like that idea a lot.
That's like that should be their tagline: "Taste of Vancouver."
Exactly.
They're gonna steal that. That's good. Okay, moving on. Okay, this is a company called One Wednesday. Two local Vancouver gals who are making. They're actually, all the products are made in Turkey, but designed here. And they make beautiful robes in this lovely cotton kind of waffle material. They make throw blankets. They make things for like towels for the bathroom. But what I really, really love is they make these little, I should hold this up. It's like a little robe for kids.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't it so cute? And every one of their kids' products, they give back to Children's Hospital. So again, you feel like you're giving gift, but again, really purpose-driven and just beautiful items that you keep, and I think anybody would love.
Yeah, those are special.
Yeah,
those are special for sure. And what is that? Are those
special.
some vases or other crockery
This
at the end?
here, and last but not least, again, local company, Fable. They're kind of new to the market, and what they're doing is all ceramics and tableware. So, I don't know about you, but I kept the same like IKEA dishes I had for about 20 years and didn't buy new ones. So I kind of feel like getting something like this is special. So it's designed here, but it's made in Portugal, and they make it from all recycled ceramics. So like an example, this is their carafe they just came out with, and this you could fill with water or wine or juice or whatever you like. But I think getting something like this, again, is things that you don't purchase for yourself too often. But there's some beautiful plates and platters and servingware as well. So again, I think those are things that they're doing good for the people and planet. And it's beautiful things you don't often. Oh no, here's my dog.
What's your dog's name?
Willow, and she is a rescue from Romania. And I apologize for that.
That is awesome. Willow has come in at an opportune time.
Yeah.
You have given us some amazing gift suggestions. Karla, to you and your family, happy holidays to you all, okay?
Happy holidays to you too. Thank you so much.
Coming up, dwindling snowpack and what that means. Johanna Wagstaffe is going to explain right after the break.
A new study provides a glimpse into the future of the Western U.S. And spoiler alert, it does not involve a lot of mountain snow. In fact, in about 35 to 60 years, mountainous states are projected to be nearly snowless for years at a time if greenhouse gas emissions continue unchecked. Global warming has already meant the region has lost about 20% of its snowpack since the 1950s, and it could lose another half, possibly more, later this century, from the Rockies to the Sierra Nevada and up into the Cascades of the Pacific Northwest. This is according to what's called a literature synthesis, which combines all the latest peer-reviewed climate model projections. It was recently published in Nature Reviews Earth, and it provides an overview of how the Western snowpack has changed and what it will look like over the course of this century. In addition to the 20% loss, snowpack is peaking earlier and melting off earlier in the year, and it's expected to continue to shift on that track. And something we now know all too well north of the border, atmospheric rivers are also warming and dropping more rain than snow, which is increasing flood risk. By the end of the century, the majority of years, 78 to 94% of years, will be snowless in much of the western United States, according to one model projection in the study. The Sierra Nevada could see its first near snowless 10-year period in the 2050s. The demands of a warmer atmosphere are already translating into water stress, as much less snowmelt makes it to reservoirs after unusually warm springs. While the outlooks are grim, there are steps that can be taken now that could make a big difference. In fact, the authors see this paper as a call to action for scientists, water managers, and policymakers. Given the high confidence that snowpack will continue to shrink, the study does end on an optimistic note, and it lays out numerous adaptation strategies and possible paths forward. And now, you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet. I'll try to get it answered.
Johanna, thank you so much. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, one of Vancouver's beloved holiday traditions is back with live performances. The 65-member Chor Leoni is going to host a series of concerts from December 17th to the 20th at St. Andrew's Wesley United Church. And this is the 30th anniversary year for the choir. And with us today, Artistic Director Eric Light at St. Andrew's Wesley. How awesome is that? So you didn't just download a background there, Eric.
That would have been easier, but no, I'm here in the flesh. So you may hear my voice ringing in this beautiful, beautiful space.
Oh, it looks great. So just how important is this time of year and then this series of concerts for Chor Leoni?
It is the time of year that we connect with our audience the absolute most. We get to sing familiar songs for all of these people. We have our largest audiences, and there's, I think, a level of community that's felt at these performances that really no other concert gets.
Yeah, well, so what was it like last year then to have to do it all virtually?
Shall we not talk about it? I mean, I think we were all bereft, and not just the singing community, but I think everyone. The lack of family, the lack of friends getting together, and then these community type of events. It felt a little cold and a little empty. So we hope that we can warm people's hearts again this year, and we're doubling down on the holiday cheer for this program.
Okay, so as you double down on the holiday cheer, how do you decide which songs are going to be the right fit for this in-person concert?
That is the biggest question that I face every single year. In fact, by the time I'm done with these shows, the very next day, I'm scratching my head going, well, what will we do next year? Everyone has opinions about these songs and what a concert like this should be. And I always take it that we're not necessarily performing the songs that we want to do. I feel like we're serving a function, and we're allowing for people's Christmases to have. So every year I'm trying to find the brand new arrangements of familiar things so that we have old and new trying to come together for something fresh, but something familiar.
Well, speaking of something fresh, you're going to have a guest fiddler this year. What is Cameron Wilson going to bring?
Cam Wilson can play anything. So he, plays with the VSO. He does jazz violin. There's just not too many musicians and players like him. So it's my charge when we get together to make sure that I program something for everything that he can do. So you're going to be able to, within the course of an hour and 15 minutes, see him go from jazz violin to classical things to folk pieces. It's an amazing thing to behold, and he's just such a dear friend to the choir.
Well, and I know that you and the choir have performed in a number of different venues. What about St. Andrews Wesley? I mean, I can see that the renovation is complete there. What's it going to be like to perform live there?
There is something majestic about this space. There is also something very intimate about this space. And I think people are surprised at how intimate it can be, especially when you bring people together in it. And so it's that feeling, being able to also pair that with the technology that they've instilled in this room with lighting and sound. And I always feel like the cast of characters is me, it's the choir, it's the fiddler, but it's also this space and this room is yet another character on this stage. And it's just a joy to be in this room, to hear the sounds resonating live in this air, in this space.
Oh, it must be magical. Eric, thank you so much, and all the best of the season to you and the entire choir.
All the best to you, Gloria. We love you.
Well, I swear I'll never mention this ever again. But now that I got you.
If you would like to go and see some live music, Australian indie darling Courtney Barnett takes the stage at the Commodore Ballroom, December 15th. And Toronto rockers July Talk fill the Queen Elizabeth Theatre December 22nd.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music with a very important update for you in our 7th annual Canadian Music Class Challenge. It's happening right now, and that's when we challenge music teachers across the country to teach their kids a Canadian song, make a video of the performance for a chance to win great prizes, and send it to us. This year, thousands of students from coast to coast to coast rose to the challenge, and this week we have released our national top 10s in all the different age categories from kindergarten to grade 12, and here are just a few of the highlights from those finalists.
It just might take you forever to see you're safe and sound with me. You're safe and sound with me. All my life, they never told me. They never said that it'd ever be so hard. They never said that it'd ever be so hard. So I've been waiting for the slow fade. Kinda hoping that you won't stay. There's no color in this lately, and it's too hard to say. I've been praying that we'll lose our love in slow fade. I've got some real blessings to share around. Having you by my side makes it all worthwhile. We wait for the world to change.
Unbelievable! Those are some of the music classes from right across the country that have made it into the top 10 finals of our 2021 Canadian Music Class Challenge. You can check out the entire list of songs, schools, and classes and videos for yourself at cbc.ca/musicclass, and I'll be back to reveal the winners of this year's challenge in a couple of weeks. That's when you'll find out which classes win thousands of dollars of new musical instruments for their classrooms and framed plaques for the trophy case. Great job, teachers and students. You really pulled it off this year. I'm not crying, you're crying. I'm Grant Lawrence. Keep Canadian music education alive, and I'll check in with you again soon.
Coming up, Hard work ahead for Fraser Valley dairy farmers affected by floods. Hello there, and welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, dairy and poultry farmers are getting back to work near Abbotsford, many with water still deep in their fields. And now they're demanding better warnings in the event of future flooding. Yvette Bren spent time with farmers as they start the long process of rebuilding.
The cows are back in the barn, the calves in their pens. But the flood has left a mark.
What went through your heart when you watched those images of farmers trying to wrestle cows onto boats? I mean,
my heart broke. 2 weeks ago, the Meyer family went to bed with no idea they'd wake to a water-filled basement.
I was terrified. It was everything. All of our memories were down there.
Calls to emergency responders for help were answered 14 hours later. By that time, friends had already ferried the family to safety. They were shocked how fast the water rose.
If Sumas, Washington can have a siren, we need to have something to indicate that. And it's just not fair that none of us on the Sumas Flats were given notice about this.
By that night, officials pleaded with people to evacuate.
They want to stay behind and protect what they have spent their whole life building. I get that. But nothing is worth your life. I'm speaking personally now. So I just implore anyone who is listening to this to please heed the evacuation order and leave tonight. Tomorrow morning may be too late.
But many were not warned fast enough.
We still have friends that are underwater. We still have multiple friends that have lost so much. They've lost their house, they've lost their animals, they've lost everything.
Hundreds of people ended up stranded in need of rescue.
This is our livelihood. My husband, my brother-in-law, and our children all risked their lives to come back to make sure our animals were safe. And we just need to hold someone accountable to prepare if there is another flood. Whether that be provincial or federal, someone needs to be held accountable.
She says she knows they got lucky, but next time, they'd rather be warned. Yvette Brand, CBC News, Sumas Prairie.
Hi, I'm Echo on Granville Island, and this is Our Vancouver.
Now, CBC British Columbia recently held our annual Food Bank Day, and the generosity of our audience is outstanding. We raised more than $2 million for food banks all over the province. And many BC musicians took part in the effort. Here is Josh Ramsey, frontman for Mariana's Trench, with a Christmas song.
Oh, how I wish I could sing like an angel. I'd sing carols so high and sweet. Oh, if I had the voice of an angel, I'd be singing the sweet child of sleep. Oh, how I wish I had the wings of an angel. Singing with glory bright. Oh, if I had the wings of an angel, I'd be rocking that sweet child at night. Christmas angel, so long ago, you saw the Christ child in the stars glow. Oh, and you sang to Jesus on his bed of hay on that first Christmas day. Oh, how I wish I could sing like an angel. I'd sing carols so high and sweet. Oh, if I had the voice of an angel, I'd be singing that sweet child asleep. I'd be singing that sweet child asleep.
Coming up, some businesses are more affected by supply chain shortages than others. You are watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, with many major routes still out of commission, moving goods in BC has slowed to a crawl in some places. And as Susanna De Silva shows us, it's taking a toll on businesses and customers in different ways.
Running out for errands is a bit more challenging these days. Perhaps it's some Christmas shopping.
We have some ornaments that aren't here yet, some pottery, some bath salts.
Dinner at the restaurant next door.
Shortage of pig ears and pork butt.
Or grabbing groceries a few doors up.
We had it in Friday. It's the first time we've seen chicken in 10 days.
Pandemic supply chain challenges that already existed made worse with farms underwater and rail lines and highways closed.
Okay.
This grocery store manager spends his days scouring inventory slips and calling suppliers. And while he has the majority of his items, he's never quite sure what or when things will arrive.
It's stressful trying to please your customer day in and day out when you don't have what they want.
Many BC shelves are missing certain items at certain times, prices have gone up, and some retailers have reintroduced buying limits on certain products. At this bakery, flour is their problem. Their supplier is in Chilliwack and relies on wheat from the east.
I drove to Costco and I went 3 times in a couple of days just trying to stock. Every corner of our bakery is full of flour right now because we just don't know how long it's going to last for.
How long is the big question.
It actually demonstrates the importance of having alternative kind of supply chain, having more local supply chains, building some resiliency in our own supply chains.
That's the Italian stuff that's missing.
But for now, businesses and customers have to adjust.
There you go, darling.
At the bakery, they are also absorbing the increased cost of flour for now.
I try not to think about it too much because I don't know what else. I have so little control, right, as a small business.
So they try to focus on what they can control, serving the customers they have now. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Are you planning on a puzzle, maybe a board game night with friends or family over the holidays? Well, tabletop games have been around for decades, of course, and one of the most popular was invented in Canada. The makers of Trivial Pursuit spoke to CBC's Fred Langan for The Journal as their wildly successful invention flew off the shelves. This was back in December of 1982.
What sport did Leo Seltzer develop from the dance marathons and walkathons of the 1920s and 30s?
I don't know.
Roller derby, you.
Oh.
All right. Oh,
6,000 questions, all filled with useless tidbits of information. That's what has made Trivial Pursuit the surprise hit of the games world. Something to do with it?
Beer today, champagne tomorrow, for the unlikely entrepreneurs who thought up the game. Chris Haney and Scott Abbott, 2 ex-newsmen, and John Haney, a former hockey player and theater manager. It began 3 years ago with a question.
15th of December, 1979.
Right, the 40th anniversary of the world premiere of Gone with the Wind, as we've since found out. And I bought my 6th Scrabble game because he challenged me to a game. I couldn't find it, and I said, you know, that's the 6th one I bought. Why don't we invent a game? And you said...
No, you said.
I said.
What could it be about?
No, first I said, why don't we invent a game?
You've said that already.
Oh, and you said what could it be about?
No, you said.
And I said that, and you said.
I said. Trivia?
Trivia.
Okay. Playing it is easy. roll the dice, land on a colored square, and answer a question in one of 6 categories. For example, yellow is history.
What Norwegian was the United Nations first Secretary General?
Dag Hammarskjöld.
No. Trygve Lie.
Oh! Thor higher now.
Oh, Trygve Lie. Everybody knows that?
Yeah, Dag Hammarskjöld
Who
was
was
Swedish,
Trygve?
wasn't he?
Trygve Lie was the first Secretary General of the United Nations, and I think any newsman worth his salt should know that, don't you?
There goes the UN beat.
Like the unemployed plumber who invented Monopoly, or the plastic sculptor who made the first hula hoop, the boys knew they had a winner. But it took 2 lean years to write the questions, turn out the first samples, and find a banker who would buy the idea.
We had some rocky times last spring after the trade shows, and we didn't get very many orders, and getting financing together. And really it was only through the help of a bank manager in St. Catharines, Ontario, who played the game and believed in it. And he was sort of the last banker we went to.
Since then, there's only been one real problem. They can't make the games fast enough. With 1,000 multicolored cards per box, it's a complicated production run. All the parts, except the dice, are designed, manufactured, and assembled in Canada. This assembly line is turning out an average of 3,500 games a day. As fast as they can be shipped to the stores, they're sold out. The manufacturer is having trouble keeping up with the demand for a game that's so popular, it's outselling the all-time favorite, Monopoly. Stu Robertson, the distributor, thinks he has died and gone to heaven. 2 years ago, he left Parker Brothers, the Monopoly giant, to buy into a small Canadian firm. Voila, a winner.
Financially, it's leapt up to being probably in this fiscal year about 20% of our total sales will have been the Trivial Pursuit we've shipped. And it's terribly important for the retail industry in the toy and game business this year because it's one of the few things that is drawing people into their stores.
At this store on a pre-Christmas Saturday, copies of the game have been held back so the inventors can sign them. At $30 a crack, the game isn't cheap. At $30 a crack, it will be out of stock in a day or so. According to the inventors, this is the beginning of a trivia empire. There's already a second set of questions on the movies, to be followed by sports, baby boom quiz, and a children's edition. They hope for a lucrative string of spin-offs.
All this is just in Canada. Next month, Trivial Pursuit invades the United States with the richest royalty contract in the history of the games business. E.T. is number 2. Like it says on the box, what mighty contests rise from trivial things.
Who said that, Fred?
Fred Langan for the Journal.
This is our Vancouver.
When we bring you stories here at CBC Vancouver, we have award-winning photographers out capturing the images that say so much. Still images add context and bring a lot more to the understanding of an event or an issue. Here are some of the latest from what was happening this past week. And that's all for Our Vancouver for this week. I hope you can join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1 for On the Coast. Goodbye for now.